What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here with your second stimulus check update, and good afternoon from a gloomy day in Ohio. We're going to talk about the details of the second stimulus check and the second stimulus package and the unemployment extension updates, what the current news is right now. The Senate is voting on a bill today to extend the enhanced unemployment benefits at $300 per week. We're going to go over that. We're also going to go over what the White House Chief of Staff is saying regarding the second stimulus check, the larger package, and we're going to talk about presidential executive orders for stimulus checks. I'm going to talk about what's going on with those at the end of this video. But first, if you can, give this video a like down below, and do me a favor while you're down there, click the share button and share this video on Facebook. Share this video with your family and friends so that other people we can get the word out about what is going on with the second stimulus check and a new unemployment extension update. I'm sure it would be very valuable to lots of people, so share this video if you can. Okay, first up, the Senate is voting on another stimulus package today. They voted on one yesterday, and it was 3 votes short of passing, and that is because 3 people didn't vote. I don't know if they have the virus or what is going on, but 3 people didn't vote, and they were 3 people short of passing that smaller stimulus bill. This is a larger stimulus bill than that of $500 billion, and it does include an unemployment extension of $300 per week all the way till the end of this year, December 27th. Now, if you would have asked me a few days ago, I would have told you that that bill would have probably not had any chance of passing because typically the Republican bills in the Senate have not been passing because they have not been getting Democratic support. However, the bill yesterday did get 5 votes from the Democrats, and they only needed 3 more votes to pass that bill and then send it to the U.S. House of Representatives to try to get it signed into law. Now, what's interesting about this is if we go back a few months ago, the Republicans were completely against having another unemployment extension benefit. They didn't want any more unemployment extensions. They wanted people to just go back to work and open their businesses. And my wife just shouted from the other room and shut their mouths. Just go to work and shut their mouths. So that's not actually the case. I don't want to offend anybody. Again, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I just say things down the middle. But the Republicans didn't want to pass another unemployment extension benefit. And now they're the ones introducing a bill with a $300 per week unemployment benefit. So it'll be interesting to see if this does pass. It does not have these standalone stimulus checks. We're going to talk about that in a second here, but it does have an unemployment extension of $300 per week, another round of Paycheck Protection Program, which would get money to small business owners to pay the paychecks of their employees, and also money for schools and liability protections. Now, the other side of the coin is the negotiations going on between House Speaker Nancy Pelosi of the Democrats and the White House and Republican teams, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows from the Republicans. And Mark Meadows just gave an interview with some interesting things to say about what is going on with the larger stimulus package. You know, that has the $1,200 stimulus checks in there. The second $1,200 stimulus check, it has a check for dependents, all dependents this time around, of at least $500 or possibly $1,000. And there's also the possibility that that $1,200 check could actually be larger now. And there's also mortgage and rental assistance money in this stimulus package. Let me show you what White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows is saying right now about the stimulus package.
Joining me right now is the White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows. Mark, great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here. You just heard Nancy Pelosi. Does she really want to get a deal done or not, Mark?
Well, you know, it's interesting. She says that this is all about respecting the science. It's really more about her political agenda, Maria. But I am optimistic. We do share one goal, and that is hopefully to get some kind of deal in the next 48 hours or so. From here, I'll actually leave to go have discussions with some of our Senate colleagues on the Republican side, as well as some of her staff staff members as it relates to insurance provisions and how to best make sure that those that have lost insurance during this China virus pandemic, that we can actually provide help. The president has been very clear. He wants to make sure that we provide the necessary funds for those Americans that are hurting during this unprecedented time. While there is truly good news on the economic front, part of this stimulus package would actually be to address some of the manufacturing onshoring needs as well. So while we have not seen a lot of movement from Speaker Pelosi, we've seen more movement from the rank and file Democrats in the House. I can tell you that the negotiations have entered a new phase, which is more on the technical side of trying to get the language right if we can agree upon the numbers. We're still apart, still a number of issues to work on, but the last 24 hours have moved the ball down the field.
What is getting in the way or standing in the way of a deal? Because the truth is this insurance that you just mentioned. Lindsey Graham said that Nancy Pelosi did not want to agree to liability insurance, whereas somebody goes to a restaurant, they get sick, they want to sue the restaurant. That liability insurance protects that restaurant from that. Has she now agreed that there should be liability insurance? Is that what you just said?
Well, she knows, she's known for 90 days that liability protection would be part of any deal. To have a discussion over the last several months without really her privately acknowledging that those liability protections were going to be part of any deal would just have been disingenuous. No, what I'm talking about there is really on those that have lost their job and lost insurance along with it. How do we best make sure that they have the coverage they need? And how do we actually subsidize that? But that's not the biggest issue that's out there. The biggest issue remains state and local assistance. We show that the actual numbers in terms of revenue loss for state and local governments to be in the $250 to $275 billion range. She's about twice that number, closer to $500 billion. That remains a stumbling block. But for us, it's more about trying to make sure we get some of the policies in place that if we can agree upon a number for the policy doesn't stand in the way. So I'll give you a prime example. If we can add additional monies in terms of transportation onshoring, I think there's a deal here to be made.
Okay, so you want to add additional money so that you incentivize companies to bring back their manufacturing lines to America.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it's all. We've had a dependence on China that is disproportionate to the manufacturing needs here in America. And so if we can do critical supply chains and actually offer.
By the way, let me jump in here for a second. This is something that Republicans would go for. Remember, we need those Republican senator votes to pass this bill. This is something that likely the Republicans would go for, and probably Nancy Pelosi would go for too. They need to sweeten the pot for Republican senators just to make sure that we get enough Republican senator votes to pass this bill.
For financial tax incentives for companies to invest again here in America, we're going to do that.
So the White House is making it their priority to get a deal done within the next 48 hours. We'll have to see. They now have both Republicans and Democrats working on the language of this bill and actually drafting and writing this bill, including some Senate Republicans, some of Mitch McConnell's people. It's interesting that Mitch McConnell's people are now working on this bill. We've had a lot of back and forth talk from the leader of the Senate, Mitch McConnell, saying that he didn't want the president to pass a bill before the election because it would delay the Supreme Court justice nominee. But then on the other hand, saying that any deal that does come through from the White House and Nancy Pelosi, from the Democrats, that he will put that to a vote on the Senate floor. And remember, we only need 13 votes from the Senate to get that. And President Donald Trump has been heard that he's already been trying to shore up these votes and to add these extra provisions in possibly that might ensure that the Senate Republicans will vote yes on this bill. Speaking of President Donald Trump, I want to update you guys on what's going on with the possibility of the president just passing a presidential executive order for checks. Okay. So first of all, the president has said that there was $300 billion there sitting in a fund. And if Congress couldn't come to an agreement, that they were exploring ways on how they could pass that through a presidential executive order to go over Nancy Pelosi's head and just pass it through an executive order without needing Congress's approval. Now, this $300 billion is actually left over from the first stimulus package and thus has already been approved by Congress. They've already approved it and it's sitting there earmarked for stimulus. In fact, there's now thought to be known up to $800 billion through various funds and sitting in different accounts, different bank accounts. There's actually some money at banks that are sitting there from unused stimulus fund. There's some money from the Main Street Lending Program, some money from the Paycheck Protection Program, and this $300 billion also. There's thought to be known up to $800 billion sitting there that's already been approved for stimulus that has not been spent yet. So the question is, can the president pass this through a presidential executive order? And I haven't been mentioning this a lot lately because I really don't want to give false hope if it's not there. But if you asked me personally, I would tell you that I really do personally think, if you asked me behind closed doors where it was just me and my mom talking, she's here babysitting Julian, by the way, our son, I would tell you that I personally do think 100% in my heart that he can pass this through a presidential executive order. And the only reason I say this, and it's a big reason, is because he already did it. He did it with the unemployment presidential executive order, where the money was there sitting in an approved fund that had already been approved by Congress for the disaster relief fund. And he used that money and repurposed it through a presidential executive order. And he repurposed it and gave it for stimulus through the unemployment extension boost money for this pandemic. Okay. It was pandemic money, it was disaster money, and he repurposed it. So, because there's all these different funds sitting there with $800 billion in there, why can't he do it again? It's already been approved by Congress and he just needs to repurpose it. I don't know why he hasn't done it yet. We have heard from the White House that they think they need congressional approval, but honestly, the Democrats were saying that last time around with the presidential executive order that he passed. The Democrats were saying, "Oh no, he can't do that. He needs presidential executive, or he needs a congressional approval." And then the president just passed it anyways. He's like, "Congressional approval? You guys already approved it, and now I'm just going to repurpose it and pass it with an executive order." So honestly, I feel like this is exactly the same situation. It's already been approved from the first stimulus package. Congress has already approved it. So why doesn't he do it through a presidential executive order? The only reason would be is that he can't, but he did do this previously. So the question is, can he not do it? Or is he waiting till the last minute? We still have 14 days before the election. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin says that he can get direct deposits out within 7 days of it passing. So the question is he waiting till the last minute to possibly do this to pull a rabbit out of his hat? I mean, you would think that the president is going to try to do everything he can to pass stimulus, pass unemployment, pass anything he can before the election. We're now down to 2 weeks away, and we have the presidential debate on Thursday. So why wouldn't he do it now? Now, remember, the Democrats said he couldn't do it last time. He did it, and they're like, "Oh, maybe we should challenge it in court." And then they're thinking, if we challenge it in court, everybody in America will hate us. Yeah, we can't do that. So imagine if he does it, even if it's borderline whether he can or can't do it, the Democrats will be like, yeah, we should challenge it in court. And then they'll be like, "Oh, wait a minute. If we do that, everybody in America will hate us. Yeah, we can't do that." So the question is, will he try to pass this, even if it's maybe borderline, he can or can't do it, just like the last one was? Can he pass a presidential executive order? The Democrats could possibly challenge it in court, but if they challenge passing stimulus checks to everybody, just a standalone bill just for stimulus checks right before the election, I mean, that seems like doomsday for the Democrats, for any Democrat, Nancy Pelosi, everybody who's up for re-election, if they challenge that in court. And they didn't challenge it in court last time, so I don't think they would do it again. So the question is, will he try to pull a rabbit out of his hat and do something like that before the election? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. months. Also, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new videos. You can click the bell icon if you want to get notified when we go live. Hit the like button for us. It really helps out our channel. And share this video. Share this video on Facebook and with your family and friends so we can get the word out, so we can try to get as much support for these stimulus checks and for them to vote yes, and for Congress to get the message and get the word out to everybody so they know what's going on with the second stimulus check. So click the share button down below and let's get the word out. Thanks for watching, guys. You can click on this top video to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video teaches you about how to start a business selling products on Amazon FBA. I have students that have replaced their entire 9-to-5 income selling products on Amazon, and I teach them how to do that. Click on one of those videos to watch them next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.